Welcome back. Now we talk about our health and how to maintain a healthy, first of all, follicle. To maintain a healthy hair, to avoid hair loss, you have to maintain a healthy follicle, not in order to lose lots of hair. And also, you need to maintain a healthy life and a healthy diet, lots of things. The only one who can answer this problem and try to give us the good tips, the useful ones, is Dr. Mounir William, Professor of Plastic Surgery and Dermatology, and he's going to give us his golden tips as usual. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Dr. William, first of all, if you can give us a brief explanation of why hair becomes weak in the first place and it starts falling off, and how can we tell that we have weak hair?
Okay, at first let's start about hair. I'd like to speak about two main important facts. The first main important fact related to the number of hair follicles all over the body. It is about 5 million hair follicle in adult mature male or female. In the head only there is 1 million, but in the scalp there is only 100,000 hair follicles. So we are speaking about these 100,000 hair follicles which are present in the scalp. This is number one. Number two, hair grows in stages, in 3 phases. At first, hair grows in a phase what is known as anagen. Hair grows at certain rate per week. Say hair in the scalp grows at rate of 5 millimeters per week. Hair in the axilla grows at rate less than 5 millimeters per week, and so on. This is the first stage. The second stage is hair loss, hair losing. It is catagen. Catagen hair falls after certain age. So hair of the scalp falls after about 3 months, hair in the axilla falls about 6 months, and so on. This is the second stage. Third stage for hair is what is known as catagen. And the catagen itself is very important because catagen forms about 5 to 10% of total hair present in the body. This is number one. And the catagen takes about 100 days. And if we say to calculate the normal hair loss present in any person, by certain equation we multiply 100,000 by 5 to 10% and divide by 100 days, we find that there is normal hair loss daily for any person from 50 to 100 hair follicles. So this is the normal hair loss. So there is hair becomes weak if there is certain applications to hair which are not good. For example, application of daily washing of hair, this is not good for all persons. Also, taking certain types of dyes, which is not good for all persons. Use of shampoo itself, whether it is used for wet hair or for dry hair, we have to differentiate for type of hair and differentiate of hair washing itself, and so on. Use of certain types of lease and oven hairs, and so on. All these types get our hair to become falling. Also, our eating, our nutrition itself. Persons who are taking care of vegetables in their nutrients, which contain vitamin A, which is responsible for hair growth, this is very important. And persons who are taking care of their nutrients, which contain fruits, which contain vitamin C. Vitamin C is responsible for nutrition of the hair, which is present in fruits. And vitamin A is responsible for the formation of hair follicle itself. It is the cement of hair follicle itself. So our nutrients itself, persons who are getting rid of vegetables and fruits, of course they are suffering lots for weak hair and so on.
Right. They call the scalp, or they consider the scalp the soil for hair. I mean, in order to start with good, healthy piece of hair, you have to start with good soil or good scalp,
yeah.
From my own point of view. So how can we maintain that, and how can we avoid that our scalp could be, once our scalp is damaged, what could we be doing? Is there a way to try to retreat some benefits, or try to maintain it, or try to avoid more damage? I mean, what could be the solution in case of a damage for the scalp? Or is it over?
No, it is not over, of course. There is a preventive line of treatment which is related to our nutrients. It is related to our food, as I said. It is related to our vegetables and fruits which contain vitamin A, responsible for cement of hair, and fruits which contain vitamin C, which is nutrient to the hair. This is number one. Also, taking care of dealing with hair itself. Of course, if I have wet hair, I have to wash it twice weekly. If I have dry hair, I have to wash it once every week or once every 5 days. This is number one. Also, using of nutrition. nutrients or conditioners. Conditioners, of course, not used for all types of hairs. Also use of hot oven or séchoirs and so on. Also this is related to hair. Use of dyes, this is related to hair. Also taking the direction of washing or of hair. The direction itself is very important for taking care of hair. This is the preventive line of treatment. But there is a second line of treatment, which is the treatment itself. Of course, it is not over. We have to take care. There are certain types of using other lotions or sprays or ointments or creams in order to take care of our hairs. This is according to the type of hair. So you have to take advice of a physician in order to say which type of hair is your hair and how to deal with it, and everything is going to be well. And this is, of course, most of the patients in our clinics are suffering from problems related to hair. So hair, of course, is one of the most important lines of treatment. Yes.
Of course, prevention is the best method of treatment. But what if we do get hair loss? I mean, and it's hereditary. Can it still be solved? I mean, if there is a line of hair loss in the family, could you still be able to treat effects of hair loss?
Of course, there are new lines of treatment in order to avoid hereditary line of hair loss. And of course, hair loss, hereditary line is present in women such also as well as in men. And we find male baldness and women baldness, of course. But most of persons who are not taking care of this hereditary line of treatment, of course, they suffer the loss, and there is line of plastic surgery in treatment of these cases. But of course, there is a preventive line of treatment also for the hereditary loss of hair.
Can you give us a brief about what that entails?
It passes through certain types of injections which are taken in the scalp, which play an important line in treatment in delaying the appearance of baldness, whether in women or in men. But plastic surgery, of course, plays an important role in treatment of baldness.
That's what delaying this term.
Yes.
I like it. How can we do it?
There is a certain line of treatment related to certain types of injections and certain types of sprays, and also types of...
How many years could it delay? I mean, how many, the amount of hair could it delay in the loss?
Keep in mind that in a line of treatment for hair, it takes about 90 days. It takes about 3 months. Once you take this line of treatment, you can delay for a long period. And of course, it differs from person to person. You will find the type of hair in certain person, dry hair, not as well as wet hair, not as well as loose hair, and so on. So you have to keep in mind, not every person is the same as the other person. But line of treatment takes about 3 months, and it delays the appearance of hereditary element, but it differs from person to person according to the state itself and according to the appearance and also how the person can deal well with the doctor in his prescription for treatment of hair.
Is it ever too late to do these injections? I mean, is there a stage in hair baldness where you can solve it?
As early as possible is better. So any person who is about to suffer from hereditary element can start this line of treatment earlier. But if he is in the middle or at the end of this line of treatment, plastic surgery will play an important role, of course, yes.
Hair implanting. But we've heard about alopecia. What are the types of alopecia? And is alopecia the introduction to hair baldness? Or?
No, alopecia is a different entity far away from hair baldness. Alopecia means sudden loss of hair. This is alopecia. This sudden loss of hair may be localized to certain area, may be in the chin, may be in the scalp. There is a localized loss of hair simulating a circle. This is alopecia areata. This is the first type of hair. But alopecia may take all the scalp, and this is alopecia totalis. So we find no hair in all the scalp, but still there is eyelashes, still there is hair in the axilla, still there is pubic hair, and so on.
And could it be patches?
No, this is
no,
totalis.
I mean, alopecia can come in patches?
Yes, alopecia, the first type is coming in batches. This is a first type, which is a localized alopecia
Yeah,
or
could you give us
alopecia
the
areata.
types of
Yes,
alopecia?
this is the first type.
One is in patches.
In batches, which is alopecia areata, which may be in chin, may be in the scalp, and so on. This is the first type. Second type may be alopecia in all the scalp. This is alopecia totalis. But still there is hair in eyelashes, there is hair in chin, there is hair in the axilla, and so on.
What could be the cause for such a horrible thing?
The third one is alopecia universalis. There is no hair all over the body. This is the third type. Causes comes here for the three types may be autoimmune disease. The body, leukocytes inside the body, deals with hair as if a foreign body. And then they're trying to get rid of all types of hair. This is the main cause, which is may be related to autoimmune disease, but there may be a septic focus inside the body. This means there is certain site for bacteria present inside the body, may be inside nasal sinuses, may be certain focus present in prostate, may be certain focus present in tonsils, may be error in the vision. All these types, all these diseases can cause alopecia, which differs from alopecia areata or totalis or universalis. This is the main cause. But this is a great different entity from baldness and a great different entity from hereditary baldness. Alopecia is not hereditary. Alopecia is a disease which may become suddenly, and there are some speech related to the psychic element.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can we treat it though? Or is
Of
this
course. Every disease
that's the epidemic?
No.
Is it infectious?
Because it sounds very scary.
It's a very serious word. Epidemic is very serious, of course. Alopecia can be treated, of course.
No, can I be infected from someone who has alopecia?
No. There is no rule of infection in alopecia. It is related to the person itself, and therefore we have said it may be autoimmune, or it may have septic focus inside the person himself, not from another person, or it may be related to psychic trauma. Of course, we have found many persons suffered from psychic trauma, and we find areas of patches can come and so on.
Can it be also as a result of chronic disease like hyperthyroidism and diabetes and stuff like that, and disease like that?
Papers written in this world are not such so. For my own world, it is not related to systemic disease such as hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism. This leads us to causes of hair loss as a general. Of course, we have to differentiate causes of hair loss into two main groups. The first main group is the hereditary causes, and the second main group is the acquired or the disease causes. Also, for the acquired or disease causes, we can differentiate into two main big groups. A group of diseases which have disease in which the hair follicles themselves are not destroyed. So once we treat the cause, the hair regains again. For example, patients who are suffering from endocrine disturbances such as hypo or hyperthyroidism or hypopituitarism in the pituitary gland present in the base of the skull, or hypofunction of the suprarenal gland, and so on, or taking contraceptive pills. These patients are suffering from hair loss. But once we treat the cause, the hair regains normal. Another group, patients who are taking chemotherapy or are suffering from certain types of drugs. Patients who are suffering from cancer and taking chemotherapy, there is hair loss. Patients who are taking anticoagulants, there is hair loss. Once we prevent the drug they are taking, of course, hair regains again and returns normal. Also, there is a third group in which patients who are suffering from decreased elements of iron, decrease as in anemia, or decreased zinc, as in certain diseases, or patients who are suffering from disturbance in metabolism of the liver. All these patients, once we treat the cause, hair regains is normal. And this is the first group. There is a second group in which there is destruction of the hair follicles. And once we treat the cause, hair doesn't regain. For example, patient who is operating in his scalp, if there is wound, or if there is radiation for the scalp, or patient who is suffering from severe types of bacteria as tuberculosis for the scalp, or syphilis of the scalp, or patients who are suffering from certain fungal infections such as tinea capitis, certain types of tinea in the scalp, or patients who are suffering from certain viruses in the scalp such as herpes virus, herpes simplex affects the scalp, or patients who are suffering from tumors in the scalp. All these patients, as if as long as we treat the cause, there is no regain of hair. And here plastic surgery plays a role. But in the first group, once we treat the cause, hair regains normal to its normal side. So we have to differentiate, and we have to have a look whether the hair loss can regain normal or not. And if can regain normal, there is certain types of treatment, and the hair regains its gross normal. But if there is something, there is cicatricial effect of the scalp, here there is a role of plastic surgery. And the plastic surgery plays a role in 5 different operations, not in certain 1 or 2 operations. For example, there is what is known as punches, mini grafts and micro grafts, in which we take hair from behind to the affected area. This is the first operation. Second operation is what is known as tissue expanders, in which we put devices inside the scalp, and in order to extend the scalp and then remove the cicatricial area. This is second operation. There is a third operation in which we have to rotate the hair. We find that, for example, there is baldness in front. We can rotate the hair from the inside in order to come in front, and hair regains its normal. Third operation. There is a fourth operation in which we have to decrease the area of cicatricial by certain types of excisions, and this is the fourth operation. The fifth operation is what is known as artificial hair or biofiber. All these types of operations can be operated alone or together, or everyone alone, according to the experience of the doctor and according also to the patient himself. So I'd like to say that hair loss is not a problem. It's not a major problem, but it's still a problem. And we have to take care of our nutrients. We have to take care of dealing with our hair. Otherwise, there is a role of plastic surgery, which is the last line of treatment.
Absolutely. Dr. Mounir William, Professor of Plastic Surgery and Dermatologist, thank you so much for this enriching information, and hopefully the audience have gotten some tips on how to take care of their hair and avoid hair loss. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I guess, Reem, this is where we end this edition of the Breakfast Show. Thank you very much for keeping my company as usual. It has been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mounir, and please don't forget to join us once again tomorrow morning at the same time with new stuff and new friends. And stay tuned for more coming up from Mounir Financial.